Hi, this is Eli Ochiltree of the SnoKing Beekeepers Association. This is our monthly meeting. We are going to start with some announcements just until our speaker for tonight, our main speaker, comes. It will be Matthew Mulica. I have to ask him how to pronounce his last name, from Keystone organization, which is a management policy type center that is managing the honey bee health coalition that has existed for a long time. So somebody flag me down, okay, interrupt me if he comes on, because I can't see everything on here.
I think you just did.
Oh,
Hello.
did you just make it on, Matthew?
I did. I apologize for being late.
Great. We are just starting the recording. I was going to say it's January 15th, 2026, and we are waiting for Matthew. Pronounce your last name.
It's Malika.
Malika. Okay.
We should probably correct that to July 15th, by the way.
What did I say?
January.
Okay. I'm really having senior moment here. Okay. So, I will stop sharing to screen them because you probably have some slides, right? That you would
I
rather show.
do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
I'm
anything
trying
we
to
need to
get.
put in chat too, we can put that in, and then in newsletters too. If you need me to include information in newsletters.
That
So,
sounds great. I will.
okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Malika. I am a mediator and a facilitator and not a beekeeper. But I hang out with a lot of beekeepers. And so I run the Honeybee Health Coalition. And so I'm going to pull up some slides here and kind of tell you about what we do um, and then answer any questions you have. So can you guys see that?
Yes. Maybe he's a future beekeeper.
Well, I had bees, but they all died. So I live in, let me get this thing going correctly. How's that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I work for an organization called the Keystone Policy Center. So we're up at 9,000 feet in the mountains. And so my organization was started in the mid 70s to, work on hard problems. And so, the classic story is that back in the 70s, we brought up the president of Sierra Club and the president of ExxonMobil and said, hey, you guys might sue each other forever, but you might as well have a relationship and talk and try to figure some things out. And so I work on any number of projects. And back in 2013, we started the Honeybee Health Coalition. And so let's see if I get this to advance. And so the Honeybee Health Coalition, when we first started it, there was so many great pollinator initiatives going on, but there was not one that brought together the agricultural sectors with the beekeepers. And so we started meeting by, and I skip ahead a little bit here, but bringing together all of these crop associations and agribusiness and the U.S. government, all of these national and regional beekeeping organizations, with many, many other nonprofits. And we came up with our mission, which is to collaboratively implement solutions that will help to achieve a healthy population of honeybees, in the context of productive agriculture and thriving ecosystems. So it's kind of a mouthful, but we want it all. We think that you can have healthy bees, healthy crops, a good food supply, and that it just takes working together. And so we work on hive management, habitat, pesticides, and then a number of cross-cutting efforts. So we're about 50 organizations at this point. And I said I was a mediator. You can imagine bringing together the American honey producers, the American Beekeeping Federation, with Monsanto, Bayer, the EPA, the USDA, all of these other organizations. And initially, it was heated, right? I mean, these people had never really been in the same room together. You had your National Corn Growers Association, Almond Board of California. They had never had a relationship, probably didn't really want to before we came around. But we knew that we had to work together because what was occurring wasn't working. And so, we're now in 2026 and we're still here. And so, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our initiatives, but I'm really going to focus on all of our hive management initiatives. The things that we do for beekeepers to help improve the health of hives. So you have varroa management. It's a really, really big one. You all hopefully know that varroa is a parasitic mite. It reduces overall colony health. It infests and it spreads to other colonies. It is a major vector or transmitter of disease. And if your hive doesn't have varroa, it will. There's no isolating your hives. There's no keeping them out. They are ubiquitous across North America. And, you know, we really push for management of Varroa. We think that live and let die beekeeping is not a management strategy. That doesn't mean that you have to use chemical controls. There are cultural controls. There are all kinds of things, but we really stress that you have to do something. You have to know your mite counts. You have to get in there, and you know your bees are not going to evolve some way to treat themselves. There's of course there's genetics and good stock and these things that do really help. But knowing your levels and doing something and breeding is something is important. And so one of the first things we did was we came up with the Tools for Rural Management Guide. We have just released the 9th edition of this guide. So we've released the first one in 2015. And it's always the idea is that it is simple to use. It explains things in normal language. It's got wonderful pictures and graphs and guidelines, and it's meant to be very readable. It's always been free, and you can download it on our website. We also have videos and tables and the Varroa Management Decision Tool that can also be found all for free online. So in the Varroa Guide, you have background on varroa mites and their seasonal phases, the basics of IPM, which is Integrated Pest Management, instructions on varroa monitoring methods and how to interpret those findings, guidance on selecting control measures based on seasonal phase, and detailed information on chemical and non-chemical control methods. So, you know, how does a beekeeper manage for varroa soup to nuts? It's in this guide. You know, what's new in the 9th edition? I mean, let me back up by saying like the people that I'm a facilitator and a mediator. I've told you I'm not a beekeeper. But the people that put this together, it's authored by Dr. Dewey Karen, who is an amazing beekeeper and expert. And then all of these other experts from the EPA, the beekeeping federations, universities, extension. And so they have been continually updating this guide as new treatment methods come out, and frankly, as we learn more about how to control varroa. So we have clarified and updated instructions for sampling, updated treatment thresholds based on the most recent research findings. This guide is kind of where the treatment threshold for varroa lives in North America. And so you can see that, you
That's a
know,
lower
really.
threshold.
Yeah, we lower the threshold because you know, especially in these colony phases, it can take hold and the diseases get transmitted, and it's too late if you're waiting to 3%, 4%. Like you have to catch it early, and you have to monitor before and after those treatments. Um, and so that's all in there. We have 9 new chemical controls that have been registered. We preach and say that you should only be using registered treatments and control methods, and you shouldn't be trying things that someone tells you that is not registered for for honeybee colonies. We have one additional non-chemical control. We updated and reformatted the control options by seasonal phase table, and we streamlined it for quick reference. We reformatted all of the informational tables for all products based on a lot of beekeeper feedback. Like, you know, how can we make this simpler? Um, We have links to the EPA and the PMRA, that's the Pest Management Regulatory Agency of Canada, and product website will be hosted on the HBAC website. And we just really simplified things, simplified the application instructions and the clear conditions for use categories. Here is our drafting committee. And you can see, I'm not sure if you've ever seen any of these names, but I can tell you that they are amazing people that put in 18 months of their time of meetings every 3-4 weeks, and then a lot of homework in between. So these are the people that dug in, and then it got complicated, and then we said, how do we make it simpler while still being accurate? And so something like this could have been 100 pages, right? We don't want it to be 100 pages. We want to make it as short as possible, and that's what we've done. We have so I can stop there and just answer any questions about the guide before I go into like other things that we do. But has
Hey, the
anybody?
tool, some feedback, Matt. The tool looks pretty nice. It's clean, looks well designed, looks like you can kind of navigate your way through it. It's much better than other things that I've seen. So just some real-time feedback.
Thanks.
Looking through the tool and stuff makes good sense.
Mhm.
Anyway, didn't mean to interrupt you, but I thought you might want some
No,
positive
I
feedback.
thought yeah, it's great. I appreciate it. Others, have you seen it? Have you used it? Have you
I'm
scrolled?
looking at it now. That's why I went to
Yeah,
it.
Can you provide a link in the chat?
sure. Let's see. It's going to be,
Here, I can do it.
oh, cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the page is all of our Varroa management and hive management things. We have the decision support tool. You ask 5 questions. So, are you open to synthetic treatments, or do you prefer just natural treatments? What phase is your honeybee colony in? Do you have brood present? Do you have honey supers on? And then it pops up. You hit the button, and it pops up every option that you have. And so, I know, what should I do? This is kind of complicated. So then you can go through that decision tree, and then you can then also click on the links, and you can get videos having a beekeeper walk up to the hive, and they're not yelling over their shoulder. What I'm doing here is like, they're like, it's over, like it's narrated by someone, and they're all short. They're like 2-3 minutes. So if you want to learn how to use any of these treatments, including cultural treatments, we try to make it just really simple and straightforward. We also have the lists of all the registered chemicals or products that are on our website. So we keep that updated. I think we still have to put in 2026, but we try to take something that's really complicated and make it simple. Another thing that we really preach, I'm going to use that word again, is no off-label use. So we
Matt?
don't want people
Matt?
using Bobatraz or Tactic. Yeah,
Are you showing slides?
no.
Okay, good. I was gonna say, if you're showing slides, I thought you might be.
No, I
A
paused
lot
the
of
slide so
information. Okay.
we could just talk.
Okay, good. Because it's
Yeah.
not recorded, but I was going, that's a lot of information. Fast.
Yep. Others. Have you guys been using have you been treating? Have you been monitoring? Have you had success? I mean, even the best beekeepers, they try as hard as they can. They're gonna lose colonies to Varroa and other things, pesticides, lack of forage and nutrition. I mean, it's not, I would say that the secret sauce of the coalition of bringing all these people together is that we stopped arguing about, is it pesticides? Is it Varroa? Is it lack of forage and nutrition? No, it is all of those things. And we're going to work on all of those things equally. But arguing over which one has a greater effect wasn't doing anybody any good. Let's work on all of these things together.
So are you trying to combat the issue of the sprays that go on in the agriculture, say in the crops? around
Yes,
our area, because that affects the bees too.
a
They
hundred
they
percent.
go to, they get on the flowers and the flowers have been sprayed. I don't spray
Yep.
my apple trees anymore, my pear trees. Nothing gets sprayed in my yard anymore.
Yep. Yeah, we are. So we have so every 3 years a pesticide applicator has to get recertified. They have to do what's called CEUs, Certified Education Units.
Yeah.
And so when they can take our course, which is, healthy bees and healthy crops, so they can learn how to do their job without impacting bees. Now, there's always going to be impacts, right? So we have 330 million people in this country. We have millions and millions of acres of corn and soybeans. You have uh, pest pressure where farmers could lose their whole crop, right? And so a lot of what we did when we first started this is we took farmers, we put them in bee suits, and we took them out there, and they learned about the issues that beekeepers had, and then we had beekeepers walking corn and soy and almond fields and saying, and they, you know what they said? Wow, we have very, very similar problems. We all have to deal with these pests that are trying to kill the things that we're trying to produce. And so there's not a ton of easy answers, but we have a lot of literature. So half about the things that we put together for beekeepers, and the other half are for growers. So we have, we have BMPs, which is best management practices for hives. We also have them for apple growers, canola growers, corn growers, and soybean growers. And then we have the pesticide applicator training. And so, yeah, it's a tough one. Like the problem is that no one's really breaking the law. Like sometimes you get bad actors, right, who like don't care and spray in the middle of the day. But I would say for the most part, those are few and far between. Like, I talk to a lot of farmers and they really do care. And they're just trying to control pests just like beekeepers are. So we're trying to meet everyone where they're at and not blame anybody. And that's a hard thing to do. Well, let me and like try like I love hard questions. So like give them to me. I'm gonna put my slides back up and go through some other things that we're doing. But if you have a burning question, who pays for all of this, right? Like any of that, it's all on the table. I love talking about it. Um,
No, I
and I'll
mean,
just tell you.
I've talked with my neighbors, right? So, I mean, just part of the thing of a previous bee program is talk with my neighbors, and they know I have bees, and so we talk about pesticide applications and time of days, and mornings and evenings and stuff, and that here the hives are located here, and they're welcome to come over and see them or what have you, and it's like reaching out and letting them know, because I mean they also see that the bees are on their crops pollinating their crops, and that there's actually a win-win situation here. Just a little courtesy about when you do things, and letting me know if you're going to do some dramatic thing, let me know so I can at least cover the hives or keep the bees under wraps for at least we get 12 hours or what have you, so we get the deterioration of the pesticide, so it's not going to hit the bees so hard.
Yeah. Yep. Using products with what we call lower residual toxicity,
Yep.
right? So the amount of time where it takes.
Lower R number, right?
Yep. Yep. So it's all listed on the label. Okay. So we do a lot of things. So I don't know that it's all in here, but if it's not, I'll bring it up. Let's see if this goes forward. So we're racing against Amatraz resistance. And so we've been working 12 years with almost every varroa side researcher and product developer in the country in US and Canada. So it's called the VRTT, the Varroa Side Resistance and Testing Team. And so this is a group that meets and talks about weird things that you never think about, like how do you keep mites alive, right? So if you're testing different compounds on mites, you need to have live mites to test them on. So things that these scientists talk about are formulation, and they have all of these things that they're trying out. These are very, very much closed door meetings. I'm not allowed to invite beekeepers to these meetings. So all of my members are, all of the national leadership of beekeeping organizations, and some, leaders of large clubs, and I can't invite them to these calls because we name names about the things that all of these scientists are trying to find that will be the next, what we call the magic molecule that will kill a little bug on a big bug. We received a specialty crop research initiative grant in late 2024. It's about $4 million. And that all goes to hiring postdocs and getting these university and USDA laboratories funding to continue trying out new things in different ways. The Another thing that we're doing is we think that the federal government needs to help beekeepers. You might have heard of like the New World screwworm and the citrus greening worm. It's like there's these other pests in different crops, and the federal government helps those crops out by giving them money to control the crop, the pest. The federal government doesn't help out beekeepers much at all. We have ELAP if the bees die, but we're working to get what's called an area-wide pest management program so that the beekeepers aren't just on their own doing this, that we can provide them, at least a free treatment. This is for commercial beekeepers. If you have 5,000 hives, 10,000 hives, a free treatment when your mite levels are low can pay huge dividends throughout the year. So we're working on that. We are looking at tropal labs. And so we facilitate the trophy prep and response working group. These are researchers, apiary inspectors, federal officials, beekeepers, and we meet quarterly to talk about what is being done for research and response. We are developing state level trophy response plan toolkits. So if a new pest comes into the country, it's run by APHIS, the Animal Plant Health Inspection Service, and they're not allowed to really work on it until it gets here. At that point, it's really going to be too late. So we are working with the MP3 Working Group and Apiary Inspectors of America to develop state level like templates. So if you're Florida or Michigan or any state, you're not starting from scratch. You're not starting from a blank piece of paper for your tropolalaps preparation and response plan. We're going to give it to you on a silver platter. And you can adjust it as needed for your situations. Obviously, if you're in Iowa, it's very different than if you're in Florida. This pest will likely come through a port. It might come through an airport, but it's most likely going to come in on a ship. Can't fly there. And so we're working to make this as easy as possible for states. We're just at COLAS, and we are developing a Tropolabs primer. If you go to our Tropolabs webpage, it's in there. You could go to our website and find all this stuff. You can find out everything that we know about Tropolabs. It's in there. There's videos from Project APSM. Like if you want to do if you want to really learn about Tropolabs, we have a page where you can read about it, watch videos about it. There's a 2-page primer and a 6-page primer. So if you don't want to read the 6-page primer, read the 2-page primer because you don't have enough time to digest the 6-page primer. So we try to make it as easy as possible with different lengths and formats for learning. We work on federal conservation programs. So the USDA has CRP, EQIPS, CSP, all of these programs that will pay farmers, landowners to put in forage. But those programs could use some adjustments. And so we've been making a lot of recommendations to the federal ag committees on how to make those programs better. We're working on this controversy of managed bees are having an outsized and negative impact on wild and native bees. Yes, that's true in a desert environment, for example, but in general, what we want is more forage in the landscape. And if you really dive into the research, people that are saying that managed bees are awful for native bees are cherry picking very specific data points and then generalizing it to North America. And so if you can see we just did a big article on bee culture about that. And then also like we need bees on our public lands, our Forest Service lands, our BLM lands. And right now, a lot of those offices won't let bees on, but they'll let sheep on. So they think that, bees are having this negative impact to wild bees, so they don't let them on our federal lands, but then they'll let sheep on that literally come through and bite the heads off every flower. So it just doesn't make sense. And so we're trying to figure out that, but the federal government's a big ship to turn. We maintain a library of BMPs for pollinator health, farmers, pesticide applicators, and they're co-developed with the commodity and farmer groups. There's a number of links. I can send you guys this presentation if you'd like. Back in 2025, when the heavy losses came out, what we learned to be over 60%, we brought together the Domestic Losses Steering Committee. So this is, Apiary Inspectors of America, USDA, the American Beekeeping Federation, the American Honey Producers Association, Project APISM, the Almond Board of California, like everyone who had like needed to be in like the control operating room of, oh my gosh, what just happened? Why did it happen? And what are we going to do about it? We brought all of those people together and we're meeting weekly over those months in right at the beginning of 2025 when these catastrophic losses were happening. We were like the the response center. We've also been bringing together beekeepers. So, there's this strange thing that happens where these different groups, they all have the same interests, but they don't really communicate or, walk together into senators' offices in DC. So you have American Beekeeping Federation, the honey producers, and then up in Canada, you have the Canadian Honey Council and the Canadian Beekeeping Federation. And so we said, why don't we just come up with a statement of interest where what are the things that we can all agree on? And so that took 18 months of meetings to get them all to put down on paper. These are the things that we all agree need to happen to improve bee health in North America. And since then, we've brought in the Honeybee Expo, Cayman Reynolds, and this guy Charles Linder with Bee Cause Alliance, and now we meet quarterly to just talk, share notes, communicate, make sure that their conferences aren't on the same dates, things like that. And so there wasn't really this line of communication between these federal or associations for beekeepers, and so we've created that. And that's what that last bullet is. We're member funded, so if you're the EPA, you can't really give us any money. If you're universities, you can't, but all of these other organizations, if you saw that big list, 75% of those organizations give us money. As I said, I work for everybody. I'm a mediator. So I set up a democratic system for these people to elect people to the steering committee. We have annual meetings, one virtually, one in person. Those in-person meetings is where we get out in the field, and that's when we're putting growers in bee suits and putting beekeepers walking the fields and really trying to grow understanding at the same time rolling up our sleeves and working on these initiatives, and saying what else is needed, how else can we help. And after 12 years of my life doing this, 62% of the bees died last year. So obviously there's a lot more work to be done. As I said, I work for the Keystone Policy Center. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. You can visit our website there. We do have a donate button on our webpage. Like every little bit helps. We run this thing on a shoestring budget. And so anything that you guys can do to, reach into your pocketbooks is helpful. But what I care more about is that you use the resources that we develop. You know, it's for you, it's all free, and we're doing it to have healthy bees, and that's all I got.
Wow, thank you. We really appreciate it. And I wouldn't be surprised there's still some more questions coming in. Yeah, that's I'm glad you're keeping it going because Honeybee Healthy sorry, put the Y there. Honeybee Health Coalition has been going the whole time I've been a beekeeper, actually longer, but it kept changing and it would fall behind and then somebody would update it and then it would fall behind, somebody would update it. So I'll
That was
have to
me.
look at this
That was my
last
fault.
updating. No, well, it just, funding, lot of funding. And like you said, everybody's going in a slightly different direction and getting them to talk to each other is just wonderful. That's a
Yeah,
really good goal because there's so many little organizations out there.
yeah. A lot of our work's being used in extension now, and but yeah, ask me some questions. You guys probably know more about beekeeping than I do, but I may know a little bit more about bee health than you. But
Do you, do you really think the 60% that they talked about really happened in small beekeepers and small scalers who were watching their hives and really monitoring them a lot better?
it was, yeah, there was a lot of the big commercial beekeepers, but it was everyone who answered the surveys. And
Yeah.
so we weren't going out there like, lifting frames. This was the surveys were whoever answered. And yeah, I know a lot of commercial beekeepers. It's my job to know a lot of commercial beekeepers. Some of them did okay, a lot of them didn't. And there's been a lot of conglomeration of the industry for those that didn't, who just couldn't muster the strength to get back in it, and they sold their operations. So yeah, I think it was 60% plus. It was a big hit.
But for the small scale or hobbyists, I mean, I've never had those kind of losses. There would have to be a really good reason to have that.
It it was
Because
it
we
was
watch and we monitor better. Well, this club does really promote, I think, Varroa treatments more than other clubs. I'm not sure. It's hard to compare. Okay, Jen's kind of just going, yeah, we try harder and we've been trying to come up with a decision tree. And past Honey Bee Health Coalition decision trees, I didn't see as useful
mhm.
because the first thing is you have to go, why aren't people treating for Varroa? And and I think a decision tree has to start with, are you against acids? Or will you only use a botanical, like essential oils? I take a different approach when I'm talking about it. And I think I'm the person who talks the most about Varroa, and I'm tired of talking about Varroa. But we have our own chart. And if you look back at our monthly meetings, every year we cover it at least once and go through the 7. You listed 9, but 2 of them are Canadian. The 7 treatments with Amatraz, I took it off the list a long time ago because beekeepers were innocently relying on it, and our beekeeping supply stores were still pushing it at us long after it was failing, and you couldn't tell which hive was going to fail with because
Mhm.
some strains of mites hadn't been selected as much as others. Up in Canada, where they totally relied on it, apparently it was just overwhelming what they did in Canada. The commercial beekeepers, that's what they used was Amatraz.
Yeah, I would say that what changed a lot this year is the virulence of the disease. So you had
Yeah.
deformed wing virus, an acute paralysis virus, and then you had this widespread Amatraz resistance, and so the bees didn't have any more defense. And then you get them together, and they transmit those diseases in almonds, and it led for the perfect storm. It was just these straight, just like the flu, right? So like some years we have bad flu, some years it's not that bad. Just like in bees, the strains of those viruses were awful. They were deadly. Um, it's just like when you bite into a jalapeno and you never know if it's going to taste like a green pepper or it's going to burn your mouth off, right? Like that year, those diseases. That was actually a really bad analogy. But but you know what I mean? Like it was that it's just like the flu or COVID or anything, and when you're not as healthy, and then you get these diseases, you can't fight them off. Other questions, thoughts, conversations?
How do you feel about supplemental feeding, like adding, I don't know, extra vitamins and stuff to sugar water?
I think it's needed. So we actually have a supplemental feeding guide. And so let me just throw the link in the chat. So, yes, supplemental feeding is important.
Dr. Basu worked on that, I think.
Dr. Priya Basu, a good friend of
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah, I think she worked on that, and because she's involved with WSU, she's now there, the lab
Yep.
there. They gave out, I think, copies of it at the last Washington State Beekeepers Conference.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was just in Pullman, 2 weeks ago for COLOS,
Mm-hmm.
and I facilitated the development of this guide. And it was with Priya. Priya was our Dr. Basu was our primary author.
And some of us are helping with the pollen collection study for the National Pollen
Oh,
Act,
great.
you know.
Awesome. Yeah, but Jen, like I don't know, I'm not a beekeeper, right? So like I think I kind of just rely on what the experts say. And I think there's a time and a place to do it, and especially important if you have a dearth of forage, right? So if it's a wet spring and like you've flowers everywhere and like you've got great honey flow later on, like maybe you don't need it, but if those conditions aren't perfect, then yeah, your bees need a little help. And it also goes through like what works and what doesn't. Man, when this came out, I lost a lot of friends, right? People that sold this stuff that I was like, I know I published this, but like I'm not a scientist. I'm a social scientist. So like I'm not responsible for what the science says. Like they did research on this, they tested it. And so a lot of people never stop calling me because we like put their product in the do not recommend lane.
Well,
It was
probiotics and prebiotics, they're not very well proved, right? So those ones, they got a lower rating, didn't they? I've been reading
I,
research
I
papers
couldn't tell
recently,
you.
but I think pretty much it's hard to take mammalian probiotic and prebiotic supplements and try to use them in bees because the digestive system of the colony is actually in certain age bees. They actually do
Hmm,
the digestion for the entire colony.
that
The,
makes sense.
the
Yeah, I mean, it's
they
like,
specialize, bees specialize, they
yeah,
just.
it's about the mode of action. Maybe it works in some
Mhm.
animals, but there's some insects, but not in others. And if bees were cows, we'd be a lot further ahead, right? Because there's been so much research and like, understanding how they work. I mean, obviously cows are bigger, but bees, we're just really understanding their genome.
I have one really random question since you kind of were getting people together. If beekeepers were to actually kind of get more organized and maybe get more in the political world, what would you want us to be fighting for or
Well,
get together for?
you guys are, so if I would say participate in HPA or ABF because they both have lobbyists. And one of my goals is to get those lobbyists together so that we're walking in with the same message. Every year they do surveys of all of their members that say, what should our lobbyists be working on? And they go through and then they don't just say it's not a blank sheet of paper. There's a list. Check all the boxes that you care about. And so I think the most expedient way, instead of you all walking into Washington, is to be members of and participate in ABF and HPA because Eric Silva and Fran Boyd they have great relationships with these congressmen and congresspeople.
Yeah, I actually joined ABF after I heard him talk at the conference because I was like, I didn't realize how much they did.
They do
It's
so
pretty
much.
impressive. Yeah.
Yep. But they should be walking in with the same message. Like how confusing it would be if you're, the senator from North Dakota and 2 weeks apart, two different lobbyists walk in and they have slightly different messages, but they're not really on the same page. It's kind of confusing. You're like, it's not going to do anything. But if we walk in with the same message, and we have a unified front and hopefully walk in side by side, then I think that is how we gain power as an industry.
On a state level, there are state lobbyists, I would hope, in other states. We're really lucky. We have a state legislative representative or something. I think is what we call Tim Hyatt. And he's probably involved with ABF and
Oh yeah, no,
and
Tim is
yeah,
Ti-
he's
Tim
like,
is Tim is one of five brothers. It's the
yeah,
Hyatt brothers, and
yeah,
so
and he's
yeah,
outstanding. He's a great
outstanding.
speaker. He's gotten like 3 different things through the state legislature that
Mhm.
you know, we need to nominate him for Beekeeper of the Year award, incidentally.
You should.
But I want to help write it up because the state, the largest state association we have in Washington State, really uses his services a lot. We get a lot
Yep.
out of that. He does by himself more than anybody else in the state of Washington.
Yeah, he's a great thinker. He
And
listens.
I know, he's incredible. I just,
Yep.
having met him at the conferences and stuff,
Yep.
he's the kind of person that, yeah, he's going to be really good at doing it.
Mhm. Well, anything more? I know we're a little over time. Sorry I was late. I was at my kids like camp skit, and I couldn't leave. I was like, I have to wait to see my son up on
You got to be
stage.
there.
Mhm.
Cannot miss
Yeah, I
those
had
things.
to. I was like, I gotta go to this call, but I really want to see him on stage.
Yep.
Did they do the invisible bench skit?
So,
Yeah.
well, use our resources, donate if you've got some extra money. We really need it. I
Yeah.
work for a tiny nonprofit. And yeah, I mean, we'll keep on fighting the good fight.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for doing all that, as well as coming today and being available.
Yes.
Yeah,
I wouldn't miss it.
that's
Yeah,
really,
and Eli, when we talk about the fair and stuff, it'd be good to have some of these things there too, right?
yeah,
For beekeepers that come
Mhm.
through and do the drive-by.
yeah. I don't know if you do free brochures or anything, but we could put something up.
We're
poster.
trying to get a store going. So, if you order one Varroa guide, it's like $14 because but if you order 10,000 of them, then it's like $3. So we're trying to order the 10,000 and then pass those savings down to you all,
Yeah.
like the economies of scale. So that because we know clubs could never buy 10,000,
No.
but if we got a bunch of people together, we could buy 10,000, then offer the lower price to you. So we're working on that.
And the conferences could do that. That's the kind of thing that we could maybe we could get our largest state association to do something like that. It's possible. They might do it. So that's the kind of thing we could approach them on too.
Yep.
Well,
Wonderful.
thanks a lot. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
Yeah. Thank
No,
you.
Yeah.
appreciate your time, and I think this, it'd be. Do you have? I mean, the other thing is do you have a little banner or something that, that the link that that we could put up in a small tent type, the pop-up stand type thing that would just kind of point to your name and
Something we could print poster size.
yeah, poster size
something
just to
high enough
have so we can
resolution.
point people to it, but because people take people going to the fair or something will take their camera and take a shot of it, then they can go home and go look it up, right? Because we
Yeah, I
talked with
think
various
a
beekeepers,
QR
some that are
code.
not a member of our club, but they still want to know the latest and talk about Varroa or something like that, and they've got this nightmare story. It's like, hey, go here to this site. They've done a really quality job of discussing the issues and the alternative approaches that you can take.
Yeah, I mean, I think
That way we can
um
scale your reach a bit.
yeah, the QR code I think would be best.
That's fine too.
Um
Yeah.
that would maybe I'll just forward these slides over to you guys and you can pull the QR code off of my last slide on my slide deck.
That would work.
Yeah.
It's
I
really
appreciate
easy.
it.
If you have a brochure that's already, it has a nice picture on it, something, and we could put the QR code on that. We can print up something that's like 2 by 3 feet or something. It's not that expensive to do.
Mhm.
if
Yep.
you might, because like Xerxes and the others, they kind of all have come up with something that you can put out there.
Sure.
If you
Yeah.
happen to have anything, somebody might have an idea or already
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
something that just automatically would
Yeah,
print out.
because that season's coming up right now, and if you want to increase the reach, that's the way to do it.
It's a
Right?
great
Make it
idea.
easy for people to get access to the information they need, but not necessarily have to carry around with them at the fair, especially, they take a picture of the QR code, they got it.
Yeah, maybe if I just got my graphic designer to put together something that you could then send to your printer and
Yeah,
print it
exactly.
on some
Yeah.
print it
Yep.
on some one of those vinyl
That's
posters.
exactly it.
Oh, I
Yeah,
love that idea. Love it.
yeah, and it just, yeah, that's the easiest way for us to get something out. I mean,
Yep.
we put stuff in
Okay.
the newsletter and stuff, but to be honest
Yeah.
with you, people just do that QR code thing if
Yeah.
they're interested. And if
Right.
they see a picture right next to it, they go, okay, yeah.
Mhm.
They take it home with them. I got it.
Yep, I love it.
Low
Okay.
cost of materials for you, high reach, and extends the reach, and it's something that we could do relatively easily.
Like we have an 11-day fair booth in Monroe, which is
Yeah.
technically the state fair that's officially the
The
state.
agricultural state fair, yes.
Yes, it's the real
Mhm.
agricultural one. And then we have booths at the statewide conference with Tim Hyatt, for example.
Mhm.
Yeah, we could make
Well,
sure.
then you had a booth
there.
at the lavender thing here, what, a
Oh,
week
that
ago or two?
fell through this year, but we had it last year and we'll do it next
Okay.
year.
Okay,
Yeah, we're gonna do it for sure.
Okay.
Jen's going,
That
yes.
sounds great.
But if
I could
We
probably
can
get
put
that
stuff
done by
like
next
that
week.
up. They'll give
that'd
us
be
10
great,
by
because
10.
Matt, that way it's
Stick.
easy for us, it's consistent with the what layout that you want, and it carries, the link to,
What would it say on it? Would it say visit the Honeybee Health Coalition for
Check out.
yeah, free beekeeping resources?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can even
With
put
just a
separate
QR
words
code
like
or
varroa, nutrition,
right, yeah.
treatment free. You can even put treatment free, which is a little controversial there, but cultural, that there's
Yep.
other ways to do it than chemicals. So
Yep.
you
Yeah.
put a lot of attention grabbers. Yeah, ask somebody, you already have
Right.
this stuff. You already have your logo
Here,
and your
here's a link to the resources, right?
Mhm.
And that, just keep it simple, right? Here's a link to the
Yeah.
resources and a QR code.
I probably wouldn't
it
put
up.
treatment free on it.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm
a little
saying.
bit-
I would just say,
that's
here's a link to the
cultural
resources.
practices.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Right on. Well, thank you all so much. I don't know what my thing's doing. Oh, Mike's whiteboard. Mike's get it going.
Oh. Which bike?
I'm not sure. But I actually do have to go out to there's a
Yeah.
Okay.
dance that I'm like chaperoning. But hey, Mike, if you've got some design skills, send it over to me. That sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you all so much for your time.
Right.
I really appreciate you and have a great night.
Thank
Thank you.
you.